embarrassed by all this talk about sex. I mean, I think it's objectionable that it should even be discussed on the air.
You do?
It's private between a man and a woman, whether they're consenting or not. I think it's a private thing.
Whether they're consenting or not. What does that mean?
What that means is that I object to the news coverage of rape trials. The only thing they want to cover is the girl's quivering testimony. If they do show...
How would you know that if you didn't read them?
Oh, no, if they do show the televised portion, the cameras are there for weeks. And the only clip you'll ever see is the girl crying on the stand, he raped me. That's the only thing the news thinks is worthy in the trial.
Whoa.
Right.
You're making it up as you're going along, Sam. Give me one instance where you have ever seen a televised rape trial where they put the camera on the victim. They never do.
When she's on the stand. When she's on the stand, I've seen them.
Sam, first of all, the only televised rape trial I can ever recall in my lifetime is what CNN did with the rape up in Massachusetts.
Right. They covered the whole thing.
They covered the whole thing, but when that woman was on the stand, the camera was not on the stand. You never saw her. You never even heard her name.
Well, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I would be willing to bet
said, you're making it up as you go along.
Well, no, I have a clear image of having seen these things. I don't pay attention to those particular trials, and I don't pay attention to that particular thing. It's not a hobby of mine to watch them, but that's what I have seen. I have a clear image of having seen that.
Y'all are going off on a tangent, which all you guys do.
Talk into the microphone.
You're all... I'm not used to this mic. You're all going off on a tangent. The point is that he has objections with your smut and filth on the air. And you tried to get him off the subject, so
well, that's because he was making things up. Okay, so you have objections to my smut and filth on the air.
Well, we were talking about fantasies, so maybe I indulge in a little myself. I confess to being...
Well, do you or don't you?
Do I have fantasies?
Yes.
Yes, I have fantasies. I have fantasies. Every time I go to Disney World and I take the Peter Pan ride, I mean, I'm really flying in that little boat over the London. Have you ever done that? I mean,
really? No. As a matter of fact, I haven't, Sam. No.
The one that you should really try, is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I mean, it is a wild ride, you know?
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Right. It's completely day glow, and I'm always back in the 60s every time I do that.
And what are you fantasizing about on this wild ride?
Well, again,
what would you like to do with
Mr. Toad? Mr. Toad.
It's very private, but yeah, you don't want to get warts. You know, you can really get into trouble on that wild ride. Stay in the car.
Liz, do you have any warts?
Sam, I always thought you were just so conservative. I am.
No, I'm a revolutionary, which means I do surprising things. In this century, I'm considered conservative.
In this century? I see.
Lionel in Tampa, would you buy that?
Oh, my.
Is Lionel here?
Well, no, he's not here. He's on the phone.
In your fantasies, Liz.
It's not my fantasies we're discussing, Lionel, but for you, anything, honey.
Peter Pan, McClelland, come on.
Yeah, 20% chance of rain tonight.
I think
illumination.
Mr. Toad.
Yeah, should be good illuminations tonight.
You know, this is incredible. We're worried about Singleton when Sam McClelland's running around here. I want to know where you live. And I wonder if your neighbors are going to plan on banding together to have you move.
To Disney World.
For the right price. Well, real estate is precious.
You live in Clearwater, don't you, Sam?
Yes, I live in Clearwater, the sparkling
you see Lionel in Clearwater, Sam isn't thought of as unusual.
No, he fits in.
We do. We're very friendly people in Clearwater, except don't come to the beach.
Yeah, it's like death row. You know, this is incredible, McClelland. You're too much. You really are. You've been a hack for a long time here. A lot of people don't realize this, but you've been around for a...
Oh, I've been a real hack. I used to drive taxi in Clearwater. I know every curb and every street.
No, but you never really had this shtick. At least I don't remember until recently. This psychopathic patriot gone awry.
Yeah, he brings up an interesting charge, Sam. A lot of people say that you used to be a screaming liberal until you thought perhaps it was more advantageous to your career to switch sides of the fence.
No, I dabbled in liberalism, and I dabbled in... Sure did. In fact, I was a volunteer worker for George McGovern in 1972.
What does that have? That's great. Therefore, you're a liberal. Okay, well,
Therefore, that I have come to the point where I am today by seeking the truth. I've not been manipulated by being raised in a commune and only heard conservative talk. I have actually acquired this taste.
Yes, and you've also been paying close attention to demographics and Arbitron rating. You've got Tim Cole syndrome.
How does it
whatever
feel to
if
be?
you're-
How does it feel, Sam, to be associated with and aligned with guys like Tim Coles?
Tim is an emotionally based talk show host. All of his viewpoints are based on
I
emotion.
thought he was based
And
in
yours
criminal.
isn't?
I will present, however distorted, certain facts to back up my viewpoints. Sure.
You
Tim
and
and I
I-
have appeared on a television show together one time. That was a big mistake. Big mistake.
God, I'd kill to
And,
have a tape of it.
And somewhere in Vision.
Do you have a
cable.
tape?
No.
Oh, drat! I was going to ask you to make me a copy.
No, Tim's an interesting person, but he's emotionally based and somewhat of a socialist too.
And you're not, Tim's a socialist, and you're not emotionally based.
Yeah, Tim
Yeah.
is definitely
Right, and
a
I'm Eleanor
socialist.
Roosevelt. Nice to meet you. But, this is great. We have Bob here. I mean, this is an interesting lineup. We got Bob, who is your generic, who knows what he is, liberal, whatever you want to call it.
like, is this color for real? Or put me on?
Then, it's great. Then we got Liz, the man's worst enemy, yet man's best friend.
Absolutely, and don't ever forget it, Lionel.
Who can work in a trip to Africa almost as good as Shanks used to work in Vitamin Head.
Is that a dog
Then-
joke about man's best friend? I'm not sure.
Somewhere between those two extremes is Sam. This
Thank you.
psychopathic patriot, hell-bent on the most fantastic ideas. Just incredible. You were...
Would somebody call their home and tell him that another one got away?
I love
great.
it. Production values are great.
This is what Brad James is running around
Right.
again, huh? No, but Sam, seriously, I want to tell you, I appreciate your show. It's always interesting.
Oh, you mean who let you on?
You can't... Who the hell wants to call? I mean, there's nothing in common. It's like talking to a stapler and saying, listen, you're wrong. But I liked listening. The Jane Fonda thing was great. I
you like
loved
that?
it. Oh, that was a classic. That was really good, too.
Thank
Not
you.
so much you, but the interesting people you had on.
I knew it wasn't me. Right.
But
it was the
remember-
show. Right.
Don't worry about appearing to be psychotic. We don't mind. We prefer it. And hopefully this will give other people out there a little clue, a little hint as to what talk show's all about. Hopefully, I would hope. And Sam,
What are talk shows all about, Lionel?
what are they about?
Yes.
Money,
Money,
advertising,
advertising,
entertainment,
entertainment.
numbers, demographics.
Numbers,
That's all
demographics.
it is. That's all. Nothing more than that. That's all you people should think about. Artistry, forget it. It's numbers, it's money, it's big money.
Can we
That's
can we think about Africa?
it. See, she works it in. She works it in,
You
folks.
betcha, honey.
She works what in?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to pick up that line because unlike Sam, my fantasies aren't at Disney World, which is really sick. You get these fantasies with kids around, Sam?
No, it's beautiful weather there tonight. 20% chance of rain, which means illumination should run. I have the Disney World forecast in front of me here. It's greatest thing that ever happened to this state. You talk about capitalism.
Looking for free tickets.
We didn't have to build them their sphere. They built everything on their own. They bought that property.
Well, I guess that's because they knew there were guys around that, just couldn't stay away from Mr. Toad. Thank you very much, Lionel.
Thank you all.
Take care.
It's a wild ride.
They shouldn't let about...
The Masters of... To the time, Saving Sam and Lizards in studio live with the Masked Avenger in St. Petersburg. Mr. Avenger, you're on the air at WFLA.
Good morning, Bob. I wanted to address your two guest talk show hosts.
Uh-huh.
Okay, first
Well, unfortunately, I only got Sam and Liz with me.
Right. That's who I'm speaking about.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to address Sam first and
Yeah.
compliment him on the fact that I believe that he's a super patriot and a good American, unlike a lot of people who refused the draft and didn't step forward and take the oath, not one time but twice. And I'm not
No,
addressing anyone specific.
I beg your pardon. I showed
Can I
up for
finish?
I showed up for the draft both times, and they've never asked me to take the oath.
I wasn't talking about you, Bob.
Oh.
I was just talking. Can I
Oh.
talk? And I wanted
Well,
to
who were
address-
you talking about? Since you
I wanted to address Liz Richards.
Since you have now, maligned someone, exactly who was that you were referring to?
Oh, this left-wing pinko commie that I met once.
Uh-huh. What was his name?
I can't remember. It slips my mind right
You
now.
can't remember, but you do remember intimate details of his
Oh,
life.
absolutely.
Okay. There he goes down the chute. There's a line open.
He was going to talk to me, Bob.
Well, I'm sure
You're
somebody else will
discriminating
want to.
against me.
Somebody else. Maybe David in St. Petersburg will want to talk to you. David in St. Petersburg, do you have anything you want to say to Liz Richards?
Well, no, not really. Only
only that I agree with 47% of what she says.
47% of what
right.
she says.
Which is not too bad.
That's not bad.
No, it's not too bad at all.
No, I did want to, is this open calling?
Open calling? Oh. No, it's calling at your own risk.
Right. I have a question for Mr. McClelland. I have...
Wake up, Sam.
Oh, yes, I'm here, yes.
I have listened to his show just about every time it's on and do nothing but pace the floor.
God bless you.
Okay. I have a question on Oliver North,
Oliver North?
if I may.
Which Oliver North are we talking about? The one whose legal defense fund is Post Office Box
I don't even want to hear it.
50096, Washington, D.C., 20004? Is that the same Ollie North?
I would like to know...
That's the Ollie North we're talking about, okay.
I would like to know if it's true that Oliver North sold arms or was involved in the selling of arms and ammunition to Iran.
Well, just as the United States of America sells copies of our weapons all the
Was
time.
involved in this.
Yes, I'm pretty sure he was. I
Okay.
think he declared himself that way.
What does Iran think of the United States?
What does
We are
Iran
on
think of the
there.
United States?
Yeah. We are...
It depends on
we are
which...
the devils to them. Am I not correct?
I would say, no, I would say the National
The ruler
Liberation
was the
Army
Ayatollah,
is the only group that I would recognize
ruler
as
of Iran
embodying
is
the spirit.
Ayatollah Khomeini.
Okay. I'm sorry, I know, I'm just a guest.
Right. The ruler of Iran is the Ayatollah Khomeini, basically. He is the religious ruler, and we are nothing. We are the enemies. They have killed how many Americans over there?
Too many.
And yet
One
we
is too
send
many.
them guns to do it. And that makes Mr. North a hero.
No, that's not what makes Mr. North a hero, but he is an American hero, I believe.
Who's an American hero?
Ollie North.
And what was that address again?
Yes.
Down, Sophie, down.
Well, I would have expected that. I would have expected that. I appreciate getting it out once anyway. That is a vicious dog. You
Yes,
know.
it is.
Cat, I see the ring is back on your hand. I heard about
Yeah.
that.
Well, Monday afternoon. 3
Forgive
days
me if
or 3
I
weeks
never
to the
shake
day.
hands with you.
Oh, that's okay. Yes, caller.
I've got a customer. Can I call back?
Sure. Sure, you know.
Drug dealer.
We
Obviously a
understand
drug dealer.
business. You know, we break away for commercials, and sometimes you guys got to break away to,
Right.
you know, put something in the till.
Talk to you later.
Okay, Mark in the ghetto. Mark, you're on the air at WFLA.
Oh, Bob. Gee,
Yes, Mark.
right. I used my whole lunch hour holding on.
No, you
And
know,
then the man told me I was second caller, and I hear Lionel.
Lionel.
God, what kind of luck do you have being behind Lionel?
Well, that all depends.
You know what came
Whether or not he
about
drops the
with
soap.
Lionel? The
Pardon?
worst thing would be behind him, second at a cat house. By the time he gets finished telling the prostitute what he's going to do to her, the morning dew would settle on me.
I think you may have a point there.
I think I'm right.
I think so, too.
Bob, the first part of your show was about as boring as watching one of those USF required college courses on TV.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was really, really bad. The only thing I wanted to call up and do was rag Liz Richards.
Uh-huh. Well, go ahead.
I'm here.
Miss Richards,
Yeah.
I would like to, every time I hear you on the radio, all I can think of is I would like to take you to the height of ecstasy near Nirvana and get up and leave.
Thank you. Why?
What, huh?
What is your problem?
You.
Oh. Something specific or just my entire persona?
I mean, Bob can try to be irritating for ratings, that's one thing, but I think you enjoy doing that.
You mean just on general principles?
Well, when you, I can't even talk to Sam McClelland. That man sounds nice, but he's terribly boring. Just your outlook on men. You may get a guy that calls up that is probably a nice guy, but because he's in a divorce settlement, with his wife, you just cut him to pieces. Because evidently you've had a bad experience.
Come on, this call's not for Hale, is it?
Hey, and I gave up my lunch hour because I wanted to tell you that bad. I'm a good husband to my wife, and if I told you the things I did for her, you would probably find fault in that.
Well, probably makes Sam blush.
What, Bob?
That's okay.
I can't hear too good. I'm on a back.
Do you do it on the Mr. Toad ride at Disney World or what?
Miss Richards, you wish. Let me tell you, when I was hanging on the phone,
Yeah.
I had to take a leak, and I did it with one hand, but that doesn't say anything against my masculinity. I'm just a very ambidextrous person.
How many hands do you
Tell
use?
I pulled my elbow, and I pulled my tricep a little bit. Miss Richards, you wish the day.
I think that must...
Oh, like
My dear,
weird,
if you
dude.
wanted to
Really
dine
weird.
And just promise me anything you had, I would do just exactly what I told. I would just get you the height of ecstasy. I'd wear a body condom, and then I'd get up and leave.
I'm not
And if you were my wife and I did all that
Bob,
shit,
will you give me...
if you were my wife and I did all that stuff,
You want me to get rid of him?
and you acted up, I would slap the S.
Down the chute he goes. 12:40. Vanessa on a car phone. Vanessa, you're on the air, WFLA.
Hi, what time is it?
It's 12:49.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a man in the funny papers we all know. He lived way back a long time ago.
I often wondered what that card was. It just simply says on there, Sam's theme. Back to the phones we go. RJ in Clearwater. RJ, you're on the air, WFLA.
Hey,
Hey.
long time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, you got a couple of celebs like this in the studio, man. You know, you got to plan on a long wait to get on.
Okay, as far as Sam goes,
How far does Sam go? How far would you like to see him go?
Too far. There isn't any substantiation that I can see that I've ever seen in the scriptures that indicate that the United States is on a mission from God. I'm speaking because I'm a veteran. I know Sam's a veteran. I fought in Vietnam, spent time there. Matter of fact, I took 2 tours over there so I could get an early out.
God bless you.
Were the North Vietnamese on a mission from God, Sam?
The North Vietnamese have been at war for years. You know that. I mean, they're probably the most warlike society that exists today on the face of this planet. They've been at war for about 3,000 or 4,000 years. They handed Kublai Khan his first defeat. The first people to defeat the Mongols were the Vietnamese. I mean, you know, we have nothing to apologize about finding them to be a very resilient enemy.
Well, yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why those who have come to this country succeed so well. You talk about natural selection process. The people in Vietnam are very hardy people.
Natural selection process.
Sure, people who in wartime.
Then I would assume you ascribe to like Darwin's theory of evolution. Subscribe. I think I said subscribe.
Well, there's an observation that
I think there's a lot to be said for Darwinism.
A lot to be said for Darwinism. I see.
That's right.
Is that the way you're going to dance away from it?
When we were there, apparently we're on a mission from God, correct?
No, I think there is a mission. God has...
Hold it. When we were there, were we or were we not, as the extension of this holy position that you have placed us in, were we not on a mission from God when we were in Vietnam? I was
think
there
so.
and you were there.
I think so.
Okay. Now, when I was there, we built churches. It was one of our things to do in the off hours when we weren't. And they would stack their weapons up. And the priest would come, the Catholic priest would come, and he would sprinkle holy water on the weapons. And he would send the boys from the south north to kill the people up north. At the same time, the guy up north was bishop or cardinal or whatever, who was still active at that time, was sprinkling holy water on the weapons and sending them down south to kill the same subscribers to their religious beliefs down south. And they were both sanctioned by the same pope. And what I'm confused about is, when do you know? What is the criteria that you are using to substantiate that one is or is not on this mission, as you call it? What facts do you use that you can absolutely prove to somebody other than the way that you feel? Give us a scripture. Give us something that we can sink our teeth into. I think a lot of people would like to believe that we're doing.
Okay, well,
right, but I don't think that
let's,
you can.
let's put it to Sam. Sam, give us the scripture.
I need a substantiation of absolute fact.
We've picked up on that, RJ. Sam, give us some scripture there.
Well, first of all, I'm unqualified to lead you to any spiritual awakening. I am not an ordained minister of any faith. However, I have always...
Neither is Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's amazing that all of these people
Back to the scripture, Sam.
belong to one or did belong to one denomination. But at any rate, I always quote purely secular sources to back up my claim. However, I am a Christian, and I do derive great inspiration from the Bible. And I think that if you research the book of Exodus, you will find the beginnings of the whole notion of man being inherently free from oppressive governments. I don't have to put up with anything that God doesn't want to put up with, and he didn't want to put up with Pharaoh.
And every indication, any time that he ever made a backing, especially of his people, back at that time, when he made a backing of them, they were successful in any endeavor that they went into, any enemy that they went up against, all, and when they dropped off and did something that was against the narrow laws by which they were told to live, they failed miserably at the hands of the nations that were at that time.
RJ, hold on here a second. I want to follow up on something. You don't want to put up with any oppressive government, Sam?
That's true.
Is the United States government filled with secular humanists and liberals and things like that?
It's a portion of our belief, sure.
There are a lot of people in the U.S. government who are not Christians, not, really... Well, then why don't you advocate the violent overthrow of that government and see how oppressive it is?
No, that's part of freedom. Freedom is a messy business. Our job
I beg your pardon. If you advocate the violent overthrow of this government, Sam, you'll find out just exactly how oppressive it can be.
No, I do not advocate the violent overthrow of this government.
I know you don't, but I'm saying if you did, so therefore I guess this is an oppressive government.
No, it's not an oppressive government because it permits me the liberties that I enjoy today.
It permits you the liberties that you enjoy today.
That's right.
But you don't have the right to overthrow it.
A little revolution now and then is a good thing, and we overthrow our government every time we write a new law. We overthrow. You see, the government is not there to give me my rights.
But this government is filled with people who are not working in the best interest of the country, right? Those secular humanists and non-Christians and so forth and so on, liberals, commie pinkos,
there
faggots.
There are people who misunderstand what is the best interest of this country, but I'm glad to see them at work. That's fine.
But you don't have the right to, get rid of those people that you, vehemently disagree with.
No, I would not advocate the persecution of anybody within our government because they are expressing viewpoints. They're free to express those viewpoints. I'm all for it. Our job is done with them. They are free, and they're free to be stupid. If they want to be stupid, be stupid.
Well, 59 the time. Lizards and Save and Sam in studio with me. Of course they will be here in the next hour. As a matter of fact, we may take this right on through midnight. Just blow out TalkNet tonight, blow out web. Just get to the bottom of this before it's all over. Don't venture very far, whatever you do.
I gotta hand it to you, Lassiter. Ain't nobody else that can turn sickle cows into hamburgers any better.
Well, thank you very much there, caller. 6 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. Welcome back. It's hour number 2 on a, what the hell is it? It's a Wednesday, June 22nd. At least that's what it says here on my paper, and I believe what it says on my paper. So that is probably what it is. Live with me in studio, those who only serve on the weekends, except those days when the rest of us don't come in. And they're called in to, in last-minute notice to come in here and try to fill 3 hours. Boy, I bet you guys are really glad that, I bet you're both glad that I dropped down from 4 to 3 hours for the days you have to fill in for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. But on the weekends now, I'm doing 4 hours. Are you doing 4 hours, Sam?
On Saturday morning, yeah, but not on Sunday morning.
When I
Thanks
first...
to you, Les.
Thanks for the promo, by the way. Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to noon, the Sam McClelland Show, and on Sunday...
You guys get no sympathy from me whatsoever, because when I broke into this business, I did 5 hours. 5 hours. Granted, it was a more lively talk market, but still. The only way you can do 5 hours is to do at least a 1-hour monologue. Bare minimum.
Or 2 subjects.
Well, I can't do 2 subjects in one day. Why?
You're a one-subject man?
A one-subject man. You want to do this full-time?
Do what? Your job?
No, not my job. I'm not planning on going any place.
Still sleep.
Do you want to do talk radio full-time?
Some days, yes.
Some days?
Some days I do. It's very seductive.
Very seductive.
It's very seductive.
No. If you're trying to hustle men over the air, get into music radio. You can't hustle broads or men in talk. It just doesn't work out the same.
How do you know? Have you tried it?
I've done both.
You've hustled women over the air and men?
Well, in my wilder
men worked out better
days.
than the women, did they?
I'm not going to get into that at all. Sam, turning to you.
Yes.
Do you want to do this full time?
I don't know. What is this that we do? I've never been quite sure. I'm a talk show guest. That's the way I view it.
You're a talk show guest.
Talk show guest, yes. If you come to my home, then I'm the host, and you're the guest, right? So, like, where are we right now? We're in somebody's car.
What do you
We're
mean?
in somebody's
If I were
living
to
room.
go over to your house, I'd have to speak to you on a phone so you can hang up on me?
No.
No.
If you came to my home, then I would be the host and you would be the guest. Right now, we're in somebody else's home. I don't view myself as a host. I'm a guest.
Do you want to do it full time?
I have done this thing full time, and I'm not so sure. Some, like you say, some days yes, some days no. I don't know.
How did you get into this end of the business?
I got into this business
No, this end of the business.
This end.
Yeah, talk show.
Talk show.
Telephone, radio, talk show.
It was a slot opened up at KTO Radio, San Angelo, Texas. I was doing country music.
Oh, God.
I started out as a country music DJ.
That was my last job in radio before I went to talk to him.
I was Sam Case at a phony
Bob
name.
Clifford.
Yeah, I became Sam Case because there had been a guy at the station. His name was Sam Case, and they had all the jingles for Sam Case.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And they
that
said,
was the day they do interchangeable voices.
Right, and so they said, well, son of a gun, you're really Sam, right?
Oh, what a great business.
The FCC said you can now have nighttime. They gave them extra hours because they were the only station.
God, you were really lucky that they didn't lose the female jockey.
Yeah, I know, right. Yeah, would have been interesting. And I used to do accident reporting, and they said the guy can actually talk in addition to give the time.
I've done accident reports here. I've occasionally followed up on your shows.
Yeah. Thank you. And they opened up the nighttime hours. The sales department said we cannot sell those hours, and we're not going to ruin our records by playing them.
So therefore, we're only going to pay you.
So we'll do talk show. And so I started doing talk shows at that time, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Now, this is West Texas. We're talking San Angelo, Texas. This is where they hold the Miss Wool of America contest. Believe it or not, this is the...
And these were the days when you were a liberal.
I was just going to say.
Right, yes. It's the... When you get off at San Angelo Airport... and they do slow down. They do slow down to let you out. Mm-hmm. The sign above the terminal says the wool and mohair capital of the world. It is. It's goat country.
Do you have any plans on going back to that market?
Yeah, right after this show, I can see it. Yeah. No, I'm a Clearwater kid. I love Clearwater. I grew up in this area. Although I wasn't born here, I was born up north.
Born up where were you born?
Atlanta.
Atlanta's up north?
Oh, it sure is.
I guess everything's relative. Lizards, how did you get into this end of the business?
Talk show.
Yes.
We don't want to go through the whole litany of my broadcasting.
Not at your age, come on, it's only a 3-hour show.
Thank you, Fat Lassiter.
That's okay, Lizard.
I just always remember that you did kiss me once.
I beg your pardon.
You did, and the whole world heard it. You were sitting right over there at that other microphone.
That's not true.
That was last Friday.
No.
Living infamy.
How did you get into this end of this business?
I was doing a television talk show and thought that I would be real greedy and do a radio talk show as soon as I got off the air on the television talk show, which is what I did. And my TV talk show, and this was in Cleveland, Ohio, and I don't have any wonderful names. It's always been Liz Richards. And I would walk over to WERE and get on the air, I think, around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and do an hour
At night or in the morning?
In the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah.
You walked over to them and said, hey, I want to do a talk show, and they said,
well, they walked,
hey,
now, wait a
cool,
minute, they walked, they crawled over to me.
They came over to you.
Contract in hand, saying, please, 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 please.
In other words, you were both invited to do this by someone else.
Right.
You didn't ask to do it.
I have my own jingles. I have my own jingles.
So that's what I tell everybody that asks me, gee, how do I become a talk show? Is to wait to be invited.
That's absolutely how it will work.
That's right. I got my big break with
God, anybody
Greg
that comes to the
Norberg.
door and says, hi, will you let me be a talk show? We immediately get rid of that person. Don't want any parts of them.
Right.
Well, the best is when you walk into a station, and everyone wanted to do this when we were getting out of college, is you walk in and say, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. I'll empty the wastebaskets. I'll clean out the bathrooms just so I can be there when a slot opens up. It don't ever work. Am I right?
I don't know anybody that has really...
Never.
I know people that have gotten work, but I don't know anyone that ever got a career that way.
Right.
I know people who have filled in until... out of those circumstances, but it's always filled in on until.
Like me? Can I have a full-time job? Can you quit, please?
All depends on how well you do, bathrooms. Tom in Tampa. Tom, you're on the air at WFLA.
Hey, Bob.
You can start with this waste paper basket back here. It's kind of full. Go ahead, Tom.
I want to address Liz and Sam simultaneously.
You want to address Liz?
Okay.
Lassiter, stop it. Go ahead, honey.
I insist ladies go first.
Just really.
I insist on some courtesy on the air at least once.
I knew I liked you.
Ladies first.
I wanted to say to both of you simultaneously that
So
you're
much for chivalry.
very sincere in your beliefs. And have you ever heard of VFR?
No.
That's a vulture for ratings. That is what Bob is, and he's using you at this point in time for that very reason. See? Now, I wonder if he would be willing to be subjected to the same position that both you are and be put before the...
Do you know what he's ever asked me? Nobody has ever asked me, Tom.
Bob...
No one has ever asked me.
I'm addressing this to Liz and Sam.
Uh-huh. Well, I was answering your question.
I appreciate your silence.
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
I say this, that Bob has had a very bad childhood, has an inferiority complex, which makes him use other people's weaknesses perceived by him to advance his own ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my statement.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Totality.
perceptive.
Thank you.
Very perceptive.
Goodbye.
Take care there, Tom. Don't hurt yourself on the way out. Dave and Sam and lizards. Yes, you wanted to say something? You don't have to hold your hand up.
That man was right.
The man was right,
You are
Liz.
a master at perceiving weaknesses in people.
A master at perceiving weaknesses in people.
A master at it. And then you point them out and embellish them.
My. I'd never thought of it that way. Orrin in Temple Terrace. Orrin, you're on the air at WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Afternoon, Orrin.
Incidentally, I'm taping some Bob Tilden for you.
By the way, the last 2 nights, and then again I found him this afternoon or this morning. He's on V32.
Exactly.
At, what is it, 11 or 12? 11 o'clock, I guess it is. And then he's on Channel 23 on Jones Intercable, which is Tempo, at 10:30 in the morning. Oh, my God, I just love him.
Isn't it great?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Look, if I may address your two guests, if I may, please.
Surely.
Liz.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Hi, Orrin.
Okay, you're into the mic now, fine.
Yeah, you're my pal.
Liz, if you'll excuse the expression, and please, I have to use this gingerly, I think you're just a pussycat, okay? And please
Thank
don't
you.
misinterpret that.
I didn't.
Okay, good. And I enjoy your stuff, and more or less you and I agree, but...
Oh, Orrin, this is for us.
Uh-oh, here it goes.
Go ahead, Orrin.
You want to go dance?
Oh, please. Just don't drop me.
You're so easy to follow.
We'll go into that later. But, Liz, I've enjoyed
Spit
talking
it out,
to you.
Orrin.
This is getting very cumbersome. Can I speak to Sam for a second here?
Sure.
The Mad Dog strikes again. Oh, boy.
We got to get a recording of the Mr. Toad ride.
Oh, it's a great ride. It really is, particularly when the railroad train, comes down the track. Have you ever seen it, Orrin?
Well, look, when you're boiling toads all weekend, you kind of get one toad over the line.
One toad.
One
yes.
toad over the line. I like that.
Did you see the picture of the killer toads that are in Florida again?
Hey, Sam?
Yeah.
You made a comment a little bit earlier about American Indians, by their own choice, had decided to go onto the reservation.
Right.
Well, it was by their own choice. I mean, if they didn't choose to do that, they were going to get annihilated.
Well, again, they had their opportunity, I think, in the 18th century to establish friendly relations with the Americans. They were warned that there would be no provision for them in the Treaty of Versailles, and they said that's fine with them.
Well, what you're telling me then, Sam, is that what they said was people came to them and said, hey, look, either you go along with us and give up your lands, or we're going to wipe you out. Is that okay with you?
I don't think it was their land again. I do believe that they never really resided on any boundaried territory. I believe it's more accurate to say the land over which they roamed.
Come on, guys. It's a rating thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, this is called dead air.
What happened
yeah.
to Orrin?
This is dead air, right. Orrin?
Orrin? We lost Orrin?
You see, it wasn't our fault. It was Orrin's fault.
That was that mission, boy, that just wiped him out.
Snappy comeback.
Orrin waited forever. You can call back, Orrin, if you wanted to follow up on that. I can't begin to imagine why you'd want to. But
I can't either.
Dan
Sorry,
in Tampa. Dan, you're on the air at WFLA.
Bob, if I may talk with Sam and Liz.
Well, sure you may.
Sam,
matter of fact, they're your only two choices.
Sam,
yes.
2 points, government and religion, and Liz saved for the best for the last on feminism.
Yeah.
Okay. Sam, by what authority do you get the right to talk in the name of God or interpret the Bible in the name of God for the rest of us?
I don't. I don't.
Or did he leave the rest of us out and place you as his spokesman? You said God believes in freedom as opposed to totalitarianism. Then why do you and your religious zealots try to shove your half-baked ideas down our throat?
I believe that the Americans established early on that the rights of men are descended from God.
That's your interpretation. Are you speaking for God?
No, I'm speaking for the Declaration of Independence. I encourage you to read it. Apparently, you're too illiterate to even read the Declaration.
And if yours you cannot find, you should talk it over to him. He'll give you peace of mind. When you feel your life too hard, go have a talk with God.
You were saying, Sam.
Okay, now Sam. You're talking for in God's name and using the Bible in God's name.
No,
so don't try to use declaration or anything. We're talking about God.
Yes. Yes, I'm talking about the American Declaration of Independence. Read it. I quote purely secular sources. However, if you would care to check in with the local denomination, I'm sure ministers could lead you to your own personal spiritual awakening. You may need some. Is the man still there? He was going to save the best for last.
Too?
Did we lose Dan?
It appears as though
he never got. You see, this is why I say
Dan,
ladies first.
You can call back too. I don't know what's wrong with him. By the way, to all of you good folks who were on hold, as well as the two of you got blown off while you were on the air, the Phnortner is going berserk and just hung up on everybody all at once, okay? That's, it's not us, it's the Phnortner.
No, it was the Indian ambush.
Or possibly, the commie pinko faggot Reds that, didn't want you to get your message out.
They've always been red.
Orin and Temple Terrace, Orin, you're back.
Well, I know. I mean, we have to, I don't know what's going on with General Phnortner here, but, my bill's paid up and everything.
Well, ours is too, more or less, at least through February. They never asked us to keep it more current than that.
Well, it's about the same as mine is.
We, keep telling them the kid's sick, they buy it.
Sam.
Yes.
We're somewhere in the middle of a conversation about the American Indians either acquiescing to whatever the demands of the government were or being annihilated.
Right.
Right.
That was Lassiter's last statement.
It was. I didn't hear that. By the time I got away from my now dead telephone to the radio to turn it back up again, I kind of lost all that. But, my in point of fact, Sam, is that the American Indians are probably the only one, if you will, minority group in this country that really, I think, have a legitimate complaint in the way they've been treated. And, these people, we stole their land, we murdered them, and, we look at Wounded Knee and...
Did you really say the only minority group that have a legitimate complaint?
Let me clarify that, if I would.
Please.
I would say they were the ones who have the most legitimate complaint. There are many minority groups in this country that have been, that certainly have a legitimate bitch, but, these people are probably the ones who have the most legitimate bitch.
Okay, well... If you want to include their lands, too. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, go ahead.
And I really get a little bit upset. People tend to malign them. And Sam, I don't say that you were maligning them by saying that they were not the great purveyors of the ecology and all that. These people lived off the land, and they took what they needed off the land to survive.
Just as we did.
True.
This ecology business is a very much 20th century idea.
But nevertheless, these people realized that they had to preserve certain parts of it if they wanted to continue their survival.
Yeah, the Indians were just as happy to shoot as many buffalo as we could.
Well, they shot
We just had better weapons, so,
Yeah, but they shot it...
Oh, wait a second. I beg your pardon. The Indians did not shoot buffalo for economic gain. They shot buffalo when they needed meat. They shot buffalo when they needed hides. They didn't shoot buffalo to sell to other Indians.
No, but they did shoot plenty of animals to sell the furs to American colonists.
Well, that
in
was
the early couple of centuries while we were here. I mean, that was one of the major ways that Indians and
Would
Americans...
you have me believe that Vermont, New Hampshire, New Jersey were overrun with buffalo?
No, not buffalo. There were smaller animals. That the fur pelts business was a major business for the Americans and the Indians. Was probably a more aggressively marketed business between the Algonquin tribe and the French. The French got along with the Algonquins much better than British colonists. The Americans got along with Indians.
But who brought this business into this country, Sam? It wasn't the Indians. The Indians didn't originate it.
Yeah, Western civilization, again, I'm not going to apologize for it, although the Indians always viewed it as an intrusion. I don't want to malign...
Who should apologize then for Western civilization? Don't you think somebody should?
No. Nobody should. Nobody should. And then the Indians always viewed it as an intrusion, and the latest census shows that there's 1.4 million Indians in this country, and more than 1 million of them have walked off the reservation. I would say to the rest of them, if they find the conditions intolerable, walk off.
And what are they going to do to make a living once they walk off?
I don't know. What did your ancestors do?
What you can buy and what you can't buy, and whether or not you can own the land that your house is sitting on.
They already do that. That's true.
Well, no, they don't exactly, Sam.
Yeah.
Would you say to the people of Clearwater, well, if you don't like it, walk off it. If you find the conditions so intolerable, then just split.
Yeah, but the conditions are different on Clearwater than they are on a reservation.
I know that was exactly my point.
Mm-hmm. But I think that if you feel that the Indians who are currently on reservations would like to see a more liberated attitude of the American government towards Indians, I think you'd find they would preserve the reservation rather than have a liberation. I think they like their way of life on the reservation. I think they do.
I think they'd like their way of life much more if they could go back, to the way they were before the reservations, although we all know that's impossible.
That could be. Could be. I think we'd all like to go back, perhaps.
Well, that's true. I mean, I have fantasies about going back to a little town in Kentucky, but I mean...
Right.
Oh, it's okay. Sam has fantasies about Mr. Toad.
Yeah, let me tell you. Right.
I know you've got other folks on the line, and Liz and Sam and Bob, it's always a pleasure, and we'll chat with you again.
Take care, Orrin.
Chat with Orrin.
Chat with Orrin, I see. Okay. Why? Now I can't hang up on Orrin.
It does this to me.
Try hard, Bob. You'll do.
You can't
there
get rid of them,
we
you
go.
see.
Oh, I see. Because when that went out, it did the whole thing, so then we don't want to do that. All right. Now back, Gene in, at, or on West Shore.
Brother Bob.
Brother Gene.
What a great show here.
Well,
Kind of an interesting, innovative concept.
I have been thinking for a long time about dragging these two people in here who are quite different off the air than they are on the air.
Well, I know Liz, and I listen to her quite often. I don't get a chance to hear Brother Sam. I go to church.
Well, you don't have. You see, you don't have to go to church. You can listen to Sam.
He's on in the twilight hours, right?
No, that's just where he works. But he's actually on from 9 to noon on Sunday, and what time on Saturday?
8 to noon on Saturday.
8 to noon on Saturday.
Right.
It's an alternative to Mr.
Black. A little league soccer game or baseball, but I'll try to catch you next time.
Please do.
Driving to and from. Hi, Gene.
Liz, how you doing? Hey, is Brother Bob real good at groveling, Liz?
Very.
Is he?
When he's all alone and defenseless, and he doesn't have control of the mic.
Could you describe that scene? Because I was kind of wondering how you had him groveling there the other day.
Well, see, you should have been listening, Gene. What, am I supposed to replay the whole show for you?
Oh, that's good. Sam, I want to ask you something. Did you vote for Jimmy Carter?
I voted for Jimmy Carter in 1976, yes.
I thought so. But
I voted for Jimmy Carter in 76.
I don't know you.
Who the hell did you vote for in 80? Attila the Hun?
No, I voted for Jimmy Carter in 1980.
And again in 1980, you actually voted against
and he voted for him in 1984.
But you know, Bob,
yes.
You know why? Because Jimmy Carter is probably the most religious president we've ever had.
No, I happen to believe that the country's been in a trauma ever since the assassination of John Kennedy, that we have alternately raised with huge electoral victories presidents and then trashed them out of office. I happen to believe in continuity. A two-term president would have been good for this country, and I think that Ronald Reagan has proved that a two-term president is indeed good for this country.
But, Sam, you remind me of a fresh-faced, bow-tie-wearing, young American freedom type guy.
I've never, ever worn a bow tie. That's libelous. That's treasonous.
For Jerry Ford against Jimmy Carter.
No, Jerry Ford?
Yeah.
No, I like Jimmy Carter.
because of his Bible reading, his philosophies, and his religious...
No, that's not why I like Jimmy Carter, no.
Well, Sam,
how could a man possibly like both Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter?
No, I approve of Ronald Reagan as a president. I do not approve of Jimmy Carter as a president now, when I look back upon it. But I do approve of the idea of a two-term president. I think 8 years is necessary.
You know, that's kind of interesting, because I liked the fact that Ronald Reagan was going to be president, and I really detested what Carter had done, but now I'm changing my view. I'm kind of reversing.
You're flip-flopping?
I'm flip-flopping.
You do that a lot.
Yeah.
Sam, I'll tell you why. And you said the U.S. is on a mission to save the world, and we're setting the example for the world when we got probably one of the most corrupt administrations we've had in a long time.
No,
you got a character like East that's been taking bribes and payoffs. You got defense contractors that are milking us dry. You got a lieutenant colonel that run amok and trying to make foreign policy. You got the most drug-ridden culture in society. I could go on and on. The banking
you got AIDS even
going off the face of the map.
You got AIDS even, Sam. You know, AIDS came during Jimmy's or during Ronnie's watch. So I guess he's responsible for that, right?
This guy sounds like Jackson's campaign
manager. We can't mission for anybody. We can't set an example for ourselves. We better save ourselves first.
Save America first.
That's right.
You don't agree with that, Sam?
No, I think we should save America first. Sure. America's number one.
If we're on a mission from God, why do we need to save ourselves?
Because we stray. We're human.
Sam, do you think what's happening under the Reagan administration, allowing these big corporations to swallow up these little independent companies and create one massive socialistic, I call it sophisticated socialism. That's all it is. You're going to have 10 banks.
Right, welfare for the wealthy,
10 corporations running this whole universe. You like that, Sam?
Yeah, capitalism will conquer communism.
That's not capitalism. That's socialism, what they're perpetuating.
Greed.
Capitalism. Ronald Reagan doesn't practice capitalism. What are you talking about?
Yeah, in this country?
Yeah. He doesn't practice capitalism. I mean, where was Ronald Reagan last week when they bailed out that bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam, you got to get straight, son. I got to come down and save you.
It's amazing. Ronald Reagan wants, poor, uneducated black people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but he wants to put boots on the banks.
Well, yeah, the bankers have a lot of problems in this country because they are poorly educated for the real task. I don't like bankers.
You don't like bankers?
No, I
How about insurance companies? You like insurance companies?
Just because I like capitalism doesn't...
Do you like insurance companies? Try to read my lips, Sam. Do you like insurance companies?
No.
You don't like banks?
No.
You don't like insurance? Do you like great big, mega monster corporations that, you don't know who to call? Or do you like those? Gobbling up things and... oppressing work you don't like.
No.
Sam, you sound to me like a communist. That's exactly what the commies say. We don't like banks. We don't like insurance companies. We don't like great big corporations.
No, I admire and revere these great capitalistic institutions, but I don't have to like them. I don't think
admire and revere, but you don't have to like them.
I don't think you can cozy up to a corporate minutes book at night like you can a good Louis L'Amour novel or something,
A good Louis L'Amour novel.
God bless him. He's passed on to that great reservation in the sky.
God, now Ronnie will never read. Bob in Clearwater. Bob, you're on the air, WFLA.
Sam.
Yes.
I think you're one of the greatest talk show hosts on the market.
Well, God bless you. I hope you'll...
like, is this call for real? Or put me on?
You're doing a good job, Sam. You hang in there. Don't let anybody sway you.
Thanks, Dad.
The only thing you got to watch out for is for that F-16 fighter pilot.
Which one?
Liz.
Oh, Liz?
Yeah,
Liz is a fighter pilot? I didn't know that.
I haven't heard about that either.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I remember the show that you did, that you'd gone out to MacDill and you sat in the cockpit.
Right.
I guess I missed that one.
Yeah, I did. And that's right. And did you notice, remember when that plane went down and the whole front of the cabin was sheared off the top of the cabin? Who was the pilot that was honored? A woman. Under the most distressful situations.
Yeah, but what about Amelia Earhart? She lost the plane. Yeah, you see? And what was she? She was a woman.
We don't
know
that.
That proves that women are not good aviators.
She might have found some guy living in Australia someplace down under.
Oh, worse yet, then she, ran off with a plane. Great. Yeah, hey, listen to that, guys. Don't lend your plane to Amelia.
Must have been a bad time.
Yeah.
Sam, you'd make a good next-door neighbor.
Well, thank you.
And I think Liz would be a type of girl that'd be nice to go to lunch with for about 2 hours.
I mean, how much more proof do you need to convince you that they're putting something in the water? People don't just act like this for real.
No, I mean, you can sit down and have lunch with Liz, talk, have your lunch, sit down and talk for about 45 minutes, have a couple of drinks. She'd be great to have a good little conversation with.
Wait a second. Is it my understanding that you're trying to get Liz drunk? What do you want to do with her when you get her all soused up?
No. I get a lot of laughs listening to Liz.
You get a lot of laughs. Does Liz do a lot of comedy in her show?
Well, when she starts talking about flying F-16s, being a fighter pilot.
Women can serve.
He even makes you chortle now as we speak.
I know, he just giggles. You know, the problem with all y'all men is that you don't like the effect that women have on you, which is an effect of vulnerability. And that's what the problem is. See, he'd love to take me to lunch, spend bukus of money, 3 bottles of wine.
Well, we know what he really has in mind.
Huh?
We know what he really has in
Southern
mind.
Comfort.
Southern Comfort.
Yeah, Southern Comfort on the rocks.
Don't I
On the
get
rocks.
to choose my own drink? Or
I don't
do
think it's very comfortable on the rocks, sir. Unless they're well-worn rocks, but then it's a little bit cold.
And Lassiter,
a hell of a number on your knees.
I think Bob Lassiter's pretty good. A guy that owns a dog can't be all bad.
I don't own the dog, sir. The dog owns me.
Amen.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more.
Don't talk that. Well, that one says Liz's theme song. I often wondered what was on that cart, too. Suzanne in Clearwater. Suzanne, you're on the air at WFLA.
Hi, I was hoping to talk to Liz.
Hi, Suzanne.
Well, you needn't hope anymore.
Oh, okay, thanks. Well, Liz, I thought that I should call you and tell you why I don't listen to you anymore.
Okay.
And that...
Would you like a piece of paper and pencil so you can...
I've got it right here. I'm taking notes. I had to write down your name here. This is the first one.
Lay it on that man-hating wench. Give it to her.
Well, it gets down to values clarification. If something is a value to you, you don't just say that you value it. Your behavior demonstrates that you value it. And sometimes Liz's behavior doesn't match what she says are her values.
Surely not.
The last show that I listened to, a man that hates you a lot called in and also, besides attacking you, also brought up a lot of racial slurs. And you got angry and hung up on him and said that it wasn't so much the attack on you, but that you wouldn't tolerate anybody being a racist on your show. And I thought, good for you. And then a tad later in the program, a lady called you up and told you a joke about a witch doctor and happened to say the word jigaboo, where I come from is a racial slur. And you not only didn't catch it,
I didn't hear it, no. I'm telling you, I did not hear it. I didn't hear it. There must have been...
Suzanne, I am not familiar with the particular incident that you speak of. However, in Liz's defense, as much as it kills me, there are all kinds of things going on around you when you're doing a talk show. And as much as we hate to admit it, there are times we're not listening to you. And especially if it's something like somebody telling a joke. You know, if the joke starts out okay, and you have no particular reason or rhyme to think that it's going to go astray, you're sitting here cursing yourself, first of all, for letting some bozo tell a joke on the air, which is never funny.
Absolutely.
So it is conceivable. If she tells you that she didn't hear it, it's probably true.
It probably...
And it kills me to admit that, Suzanne.
Okay.
Thank you, Bob. What happens is that when you get a chance to look away from the microphone in the computer, you're looking at your engineer to make sure that he's not out getting potato chips. If you need something, and you're trying to tell him through a window with your hands that you need something. So maybe that's it. I never heard that. I would have slam dunked that person, too. Because there's no place for that, and you're right. No, that isn't entertaining in any way.
And I think it's little things like that that contribute to the male listenership that really gets upset by you and that accuses you of being a female chauvinist pig. Is that you tend to
no, it's not little
be
things.
A little more tolerant of things you say you don't value in women than you do with men.
Say that again?
She's calling you a man-hater.
Ticked at somebody, you tend to get ticked at the men a lot faster than you get ticked at the women. And
That's
so
because they're easier to get ticked at. Men are very irrational most of the time.
Well, who else?
And then you sit there and say, I don't understand why people think I hate men.
Everybody in one lump and making blanket statements about the entire gender. And gosh, as a feminist, that's what I've been fighting all my life on my side. And I hate to see even a hint of it.
That doesn't make me hate them. I understand them. I tolerate them. They're cute. They're darling.
You're comfortable with them. And I think that's why they dislike being only tolerable to you.
But, the women have some...
But even Eleanor Smeal, when she was on the show a couple of months ago, during one of the breaks, said, what is it with Liz Richards? Why does she hate men so much? Eleanor Smeal!
I love men. I think they're cute, and they're wonderful.
You'd like to own 2 or 3 of them, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good show, by the way, Bob. I heard that, Eleanor Smeal.
That was great.
Yeah, now is a... now and then. That's a strange organization. They're very radical and don't deserve the position of prominence in the feminine movement that they enjoy today. They don't deserve it.
Susanna, are you in the least bit placated?
Well, that was only part of it. Then she went on in the program to discuss Bess Meyerson. And then I heard her trying to make a case for the possibility that there was something, female-y, biological cause for why...
Wrong time of the month, in other words.
Maniac, and I thought, oh gosh, there's Liz, giving the fuel to the fire of the folks that say, well, sure, we'd like women to be as capable as men, but they aren't because they got all these hormones and stuff that make them go nutty.
I don't know what show you were listening to. You know what I thought, and I still think that maybe she might have Alzheimer's disease, which has absolutely no sexual gender. That's what I meant. It had some. I can't believe anyone would behave in this manner except that they had something biologically or physically wrong with them. And she looks terrible.
Gosh, gee.
And I even
if
said
this was a guy, I don't think we'd be having so much trouble understanding it. People are people, and they go through changes, and they're under stresses, and maybe she did do it, and there isn't any biological disease. Maybe she really is a shoplifter, so what?
She really did do it, absolutely. And she really did some other things. It just seems strange that you would go from one position to another position so rapidly. In the later years of your life, it would indicate that there's something going on there that might be a health problem.
Okay, so why don't we hear this case being made for poor Jimmy Swaggart?
I don't think Jimmy Swaggart is the same age as Bess Meyerson.
But
he's about 8 years younger.
Has no boundaries. You can get Alzheimer's in your 30s.
Maybe he does have Alzheimer's. Maybe he does. And if he does, he certainly shouldn't be in a position of leadership, should he?
True.
Okay, so maybe he does. It never occurred to me that he had Alzheimer's. I've dated a lot of men with Alzheimer's.
Yeah, I just thought he was horny.
See, a prominent female leader acts out, and you run to look for a biological cause.
It just seems
where
so
it doesn't
strange.
occur to you if it happens to a male leader.
I don't consider Jimmy Swaggart a leader.
Well, whether or not, you consider Bess Meyerson a leader?
Yeah, really.
At one time, she had a lot of political clout.
Well, I think Swaggart probably had a far, far larger following.
But no clout.
No clout?
I don't think so.
Well, I guess you haven't been to, Louisiana recently.
I haven't. He has political clout. He can make things happen.
He can make things happen. I promise. Suzanne, I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next time, next
Well, yeah, sure. That's what they all say, man.
Really? Well, I'd like to address Sam and undress Liz.
Man's got his priorities straight, that's for sure.
Sam, just to preface it, I do disagree with everything you say, but...
God bless you.
I disagree with everything
I'm going to slap you the next time you
You're
say
sounding like an idiot. Yeah, I love the lady. She was the best promo I've ever had. Yeah.
That was pretty good. But Sam, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a business where you can make some money on the side by doing a couple illegal things, isn't that right?
Wait a minute.
Aren't we all?
Call me off the air. I don't know. Is this a proposition? Are we going 50-50 on this? What?
Have you ever done anything like that?
Have I ever done anything illegal?
Yeah, in your job.
Oh, no.
No. How would you feel? How would you feel about yourself if you did?
Is this a polygraph exam?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, I probably have. I've been arrested for speeding.
Uh-huh.
Whoa!
Disgusting.
Oh.
In a hurry on that mission from God.
And I was, yes.
It cost you money to be on that
You
mission.
don't understand, officer. I'm on a mission from God.
Right.
Times of the essence.
And I was indeed guilty, and I paid.
Okay, but Sam,
I paid the price for my transgressions.
How would you feel about if your company did some inside trading and things like that?
Well, I would be embarrassed, but I don't think I would be surprised. I think a lot of activities go on all the time where people succumb to greed.
Uh-huh. And you would foster that or believe in a company that did that?
I don't know. I mean, what is this leading up to? This is always a setup. I always feel like I'm playing T-ball, and I'm the ball, and you're the bat.
The way you back up Ollie and all that, it just seems strange that someone like you that sounds to be or tries to be morally and legally honest would back up a person such as that.
Yeah, I do believe in the force of law, and I think that I'm backing up Ollie North because, as a commissioned officer, he always has a right to
go above the law.
No, he has. In fact, he has an obligation and a duty to do whatever is necessary to protect the lives of men who...
But I beg your pardon, he wasn't functioning as a commissioned officer of the United States Marine Corps. He was actually on leave.
Appointed. Yeah, he was. That's right. But he has a duty. He has an overarching obligation to be responsible for the lives of men and women that he has in the field.
Well,
and,
what about the men and the women that were going to be killed with the arms they were selling?
Okay, the arms that we sell, that's always an interesting point about the United States being such a great arms merchant, and we do sell our arms. We sell copies of the arms we make for ourselves in order to afford them.
Let's Ferd, you missed this one. Let's jump back here. He has an overriding responsibility to the lives of the men and the women who are out in the field under his command.
Right.
Well, as a general rule of thumb, it is the government that puts those men and women in the field that officer might have an overriding responsibility for. In this particular case, it was Oliver North who took it upon himself to put them there.
Yes.
I don't quite see how you could equate, let's say, an officer in the Second World War, or even the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, or even over in Lebanon 3 years ago, with what Oliver North was doing in Central America.
Yeah, almost all America's military leaders have faced this problem about what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to act upon initiative in the field. In fact, some people will point to the example of General George B. McClelland, no relation to me. The name is spelled completely differently, who didn't take enough initiative. All he did was follow orders. And that is not what Abraham Lincoln wanted. He wanted some guy that was kind of a wacko. He wanted Ulysses S. Grant to take initiative in the field.
Well, sure, that was out in a war field, in a battlefield, but don't you think that this is something else?
Oh, this is a battlefield. This is World War III. This is what it looks like.
Well,
I mean, we're not fighting a Cold War. This is World War III. What do you? How do you think?
Then why hasn't this marvelous president of ours gone before the United States Congress and asked for a formal declaration of war? I mean, it would seem to me that if this is indeed the threat to the nation that, the likes of North and you would have us believe, then therefore Ronald Reagan, I suppose, is derelict in his duties.
I would say so. I would say so.
That Ronald Reagan is derelict in his duties.
I think it was one of our mistakes in Vietnam is that we never declared it as a war, and it simply was a war.
What you think that we would have won Vietnam if we'd said, "Oh, geez, this is a war"?
I think it would have been a start. I don't think it would have won the war just by making a declaration, but I think it would have been a start.
Like I said, I think that you're a morally and a legally honest man, and it just surprises me to no end that how you can back up Ollie and a couple other of those guys up there.
The charges will be dismissed against Oliver North.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Ferd, thank you.
I don't have time for a quick song?
Not unless you want to wait.
Nah, I won't wait.
Okay.
Bye.
Next time. You guys will stay with me in the third hour, won't you?
Yeah. That's a nice invitation. I'd love it. Anytime, Bob.
Okay, all right.
Anytime.
Into the third hour we go with my guests, Liz Richards and Sam McClelland. Please, whatever you do, don't venture very far. For at least the first 20 minutes of this hour, Liz Richards and Savin' Sam. Liz will split at 20 minutes after 2. She just can't take the heat. Can't take the heat.
You're right.
I knew it. And geez, I mean, suppose you were a fighter pilot and said, oh, I don't know. I've got an appointment to go to. I can't bomb the enemy.
I've got to get my nails done.
Oh, I know, Liz.
At 3 o'clock, and I've got to
get them
run it.
sharpened, right?
I've got to get it. You're right. And have the razor blades beautifully placed in my coiffure.
One quick question for each of you before we go back to the phones. Who do you most admire in this business or try to emulate or learn from or whatever it might be, Liz? Well, I mean, surely somewhere along the line,
Do you want to know?
There was somebody.
No one's ever asked me in talk radio, and it's going to be a ridiculous answer, and it's true. There is a man by the name of Gary D. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And I used to be married to Gary.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary would not mind me saying this. He was absolutely the pits to be married to.
Mm-hmm.
But he is one of the best
Why?
talk show hosts on the air that I have ever heard. Why is he good?
Yeah.
He can elicit emotion from people on factual topics, and I think this is a business of entertainment, and people like to have their emotions massaged. And Gary is absolutely...
Do you try to emulate that style?
Well, I don't think I ever can. I think it's, if you've ever heard Gary, he is absolutely unique. But I don't think I could ever emulate Gary's style. Gary's style is so much a part of him that no one could imitate it. Anyone who tries to imitate it fails and never can do it. But he taught me, from me listening to him in the years that I was on the radio, to have a great deal of freedom with your mind and not to be embarrassed. It's very easy to get embarrassed. I mean, don't you find that you make ridiculous statements sometimes? And
sometimes, yeah, at least 9 times a day.
And when you leave the station, you're sorry you said that publicly?
Are you serious? Sometimes their entire program, yesterday's program, I was embarrassed about the whole damn thing.
Now, I'm sure Sam is going to go back to wherever he goes in the afternoons with his little pinstripe suit on and his gray silk tie and his tie-tie.
Thank you.
And the cigar. I love it. And be totally embarrassed by the fool he made of himself today.
Oh, I doubt that very much.
Made in Tampa. Made in Tampa. These cigars.
You were the cigar. Okay.
That's right.
Sam, who's your idol?
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson is the best.
Johnny Carson is a radio talk show host?
No, he's the best in the business. I think he's the best interviewer in the business. And I think he is the best because he will take celebrities. He will take...
Are you trying to tell us that your whole show is a joke?
It shouldn't be taken seriously. I do intend to entertain.
I'm glad you gave us that. I'm glad you gave us permission for that, Sam, because we've been laughing.
Yeah.
They love it.
Or some other comedian.
Yeah, but actually, this you refer to this often as wrestling, and I have often referred to this as the matador concept. I am the matador, and the audience is the bull. And some days the crowd roots for the matador, but lots of days they root for the bull. Get that guy. So
yeah, I've noticed that a lot of your fans are interested in bull.
WF.